Yo, what's up? Today we're going to talk about the most essential soldier class and squad type in Enlisted, the Rifleman. I'm going to give you all the information you need to know about how to grind them, how to equip them, how to perk them, and most importantly, the best strategies that you can use with your Rifleman. As every Enlisted player knows, you start the game with a Rifleman squad among other squads, and the reason for that is that they are the most basic class, meaning if you look at your squad size, they are the only class that you can put on no matter how many you want in a squad. So they are not a specialist, they are the most basic soldier, as also historically accurate, since normal riflemen are literally the basis of an army, at least World War II army. And this gives many players, especially new players, the wrong impression that they are just fillers, but they're not. If you don't know how to build them, they are fillers, and very weak fillers at that too, especially on low BRs. But if you know how to play them and especially equip them optimally, you can make your Rifleman one of the most strongest soldiers in the whole game. And especially with the optimized builds that I'm going to show you now, they're going to be guaranteed stronger than most of your specialists. Also important to know is that you need to grind them, meaning always unlock all of the, not only the squad itself, but also the technologies, because you want all the weapons, they're unlocked, especially in the beginning with the bolt actions. And you also want your Rifleman to be as strong as possible, up to 5 stars, so they actually unleash their potential. And also so you get all of the experience bonuses, because these bonuses stack. And if you have a soldier that has +1 experience, and you play it in a squad that also gets +1 experience from the blue upgrades, all of a sudden you have +200 experience, +200% experience. So you're tripling your experience gain. This is insane. And no matter in which squad you're putting your Rifleman, even if you're a high BR player, if you want to grind a new squad and you just fill it up with Rifleman, this squad is going to be grinded very quickly thanks to this 100%. So always complete them. And once you did this, you can do the following. The optimal way, or the strongest way to use Rifleman is obviously in the Rifleman squad. Reason for that is, despite being the squad with the least access to specialists, so maximum 3, it's also the squad with the biggest squad size. And this way its power lies, because this is the only squad that can have 9 soldiers. Other squads can only have 6 or 7, some even just 5. So 9 is almost twice as much as a Radioman squad, or as a sniper squad, or as many premium specialist squads. So this mass alone is insanely good, especially if you want to capture an objective quickly, or if you want to hold an objective that gets overrun. So this alone is insane. Then they get many little secondary effects. For example, if you have 9 soldiers, you can have 9 mines. And so you can spam 9 mines on an objective. Or even more important, around an objective. Because now you all of a sudden have a critical mass of mines. Or you can also just split up. You can have a bunch of anti-infantry mines and also a bunch of anti-tank mines. And you don't have to choose. So this is really good. And here come the specific strategies, because depending on the BR you're playing, this is a BR2 army, you want to have completely differently set up Riflemen, because then you really get into the strongest builds. Riflemen don't have any disadvantages. They can get all the perks that you want. They can also get all the, well, let's take a perfect one. They can also get all the expensive perks, and this also gives you the flexibility to perk them up no matter how you want it. And important to know, since over the course of your tech tree, you will inevitably unlock 3 different Riflemen. So Rifleman 1, Rifleman 2, and Rifleman 3. No matter, wherever he is, here, sadly not in a straight line. These come with different abilities. The Rifleman 1 is obviously the weakest, but unlike other classes, Rifleman 2 is very strong, and Rifleman 3 is also very strong, and I personally play both. And this is exactly where the magic lies, because first thing you want to know about specialization of Riflemen is that if you have 2 different Rifleman classes, like Rifleman 1, Rifleman 2, you can give them different unlocks. Most importantly, in their red tree, the only differentiation you can do is do you give them a backpack slot or a secondary weapon slot? And here's the simple rule. There are two ways to build Riflemen. A, by dual wielding weapons, or by giving them backpacks. Well, obvious. But for Riflemen it's special, because Riflemen can, on high level builds, or basically starting from beer 3 where you get access to grenade launchers, you can play basically this setup where you are dual wielding grenade launchers, and now you can just fling up to 6 grenades in a very fast manner. This is the most easy to play, also by far the strongest build of Riflemen. Also, this is the actual specialty of Riflemen. They are the only class who can use grenade launchers, with the exception of anti-tank gunners who can use anti-tank grenade launchers too, though usually not really recommended. So this is one advantage of dual wielding them. And also on high BR, you can just, if you have way too much silver lying around, you can just give them 2 weapons of whatever you want. For example, you can give them 2 FG42s, and tada, now you have a soldier that is just, that doesn't have to reload because you have 2 weapons. Obviously for Germans this is a bit stupid because you don't profit that much from it. But where you definitely profit from is, for example, for Americans, on high BR, you can either let them dual wield the ground grenade launchers, which is really cool, very strong weapon, or you let them dual wield the new combo of T20 and M2 carbine, because now you have a perfect specialization of one weapon that's great for longer ranges and one weapon that's great for shorter ranges. Though you can also switch up, because it actually depends more on how well you can aim with them and how well you can control the recoil, because I try to have the M2 carbine on longer ranges most of the time and the T20 on shorter ranges. So depending on what you prefer, this is a trick that Riflemen can do. And once again, you might play assaulters, you might play machine gunners, and you also can do this trick. But Riflemen are the only class who can do this with 9 soldiers in a squad. So from a pure power level, the Riflemen just outgun, literally, all the other squads, once you give them really strong weapons. So the first thing is just dual wielding grenade launchers. The second thing is dual wielding 2 very strong weapons, preferably 2 weapons that are different, so you get the combined effect of having having a perfect weapon for all types of situations. Or if you could theoretically, especially if you're playing low BR, just give them 2 different bolt actions. For example, one bolt action that's, let's say, just a basic bolt action that's really good on long range. Assault bolt actions is also good on short range. And as a secondary weapon, you can give them a completely different weapon. Here you can just give them, as an American, an M1 carbine. Now this weapon sucks on long range, horrible, not that good for aiming, and also horrible damage. But on short range, oh, now you all of a sudden have a really viable weapon that can easily spray away a whole enemy squad. And you see, now your Rifleman is suddenly, despite just being a BR2, low BR Rifleman, is very dangerous. And he is arguably even overall more reliable than an assaulter, because an assaulter is only good on short range and mid range, okay. This soldier is great at all ranges, and you can put him in all of your squads and he will always perform well. So this is a big advantage that Rifleman squads give you. And the last and most exciting way, and the main reason why I did this video to play Rifleman squads, is the following. And it's what I call the Grenadier strategy, which is literally what Grenadiers were. Grenadier are a soldier class from the 18th and 19th century, when grenades were still quite new, because they're obviously quite sophisticated technology, and they were much more primitive than World War II grenades, and they were more dangerous to handle and more complicated to handle. And also, back then the average soldier wasn't really entrusted with grenades, so you had highly specialized and trained soldiers who were basically the only ones who were able to skillfully and reliably perform well with grenades. They were called the Grenadiers. Now when they did this, they were just flinging grenades. So, yep. And this is exactly the same concept Also, over the course of the centuries, in the late 19th century, you still had grenadiers. And in World War II, even up until now, the German army uses the word grenadier, though it's the name basically for average normal soldier. In World War II, for those interested, grenadiers, specifically Panzer Grenadiers, were infantry that was trained and specialized to entourage tanks. So to protect tanks, to advance with tanks, and to make sure tanks don't get surrounded by infantry and easily taken out. And if the tanks advance and storm a position, these Panzer Grenadiers were also very well capable of capturing objectives. So another noteworthy fact is that with the advent of grenade launchers in World War II, Grenadiers of course started using them, and not only grenades. And especially for the Americans, soldiers who were trained using grenade launchers were referred to as Grenadiers, not only during World War II, but also after that, very famously in Vietnam, where grenade launchers were highly effective in the thick jungles. And for the German Panzer Grenadiers, in order to be able to escort tanks, they had to be significantly more mobile than normal infantry, and they accomplished that by using either trucks or APCs. In the beginning and mid-war, they were mostly using APCs, though once their production got slowed down and many APCs were lost, they had to switch over to trucks. Also, these were the units who were mostly using mobile anti-air guns like Wirbelwinds and Kugelblitzes, since they were oftentimes used to give tanks a mobile and highly flexible anti-air protection. In Enlisted, Grenadiers are, well, literally the old definition, the 18th, 19th century definition of Grenadiers. A specialist, basically a rifleman that you optimize for grenading. And here's how you do it. First, you want to unlock the backpack slot. And this is exactly why you need two different rifleman squads for this. Well, if you're a new player and you start out with BR1, inevitably, you start with Rifleman 1, and I recommend to give them instantly the backpack slot. So not the secondary, just the backpack slot. And once you progress further and unlock Rifleman 2, Rifleman 3, then you want to give them the secondary weapon slot. So make sure you have this one unlocked. Also, for those who are using premium or event squads, most premium or event squads let you pick, or well, let you change by using change selection cards. Just switch from one to the other. So that's also quite useful. And what you do is you want to give your grenadiers a large backpack, a large grenade pouch. You can give them a large backpack also if you want to grind with medkits and so on, so you can run around healing your friendlies. Though after you left this stage behind, after you grinded enough, this is the strongest way to play them for performance. What you do is you want to give them 3 grenades. Now here's a trick. There's quite a sophistication which grenades you give them. And this is exactly where the power comes from. Because if you have a squad like that, this is like the most basic squad that you can build. I literally build it to just depict how most players would do it, especially in the beginning. You just have 2 engineers because they're like the best class you can have. And you have 1 assaulter because for most nations this is also the best class you can have on low BR. And then just 6 basic riflemen. Keep in mind, 2 engineers can also carry 3 grenades each. So the only soldier who isn't a real grenadier in the squad is the rifleman, is the assaulter. Everyone else is a perfect grenadier. What you do is the following. You put in a wave of different grenades. And as long as this grenade progression makes sense, you're going to have a very strong and dangerous squad. And the grenades you usually want to start a battle with are normal frag grenades, because these are the ones who deal the most damage to infantry. And the difference in 3 versus 1 grenade isn't just the number, it's also the quality, how you play it. Because with 1 grenade, you actually have to think, you have to plan ahead, you actually have to hit. So you see lots of ifs. But if you have 3 grenades, you can literally start monkey throwing them in the general direction of the enemy, and you're gonna hit inevitably. And here comes the magic. You have 3 grenades on your first soldier, then you have 3 grenades on the next one, then you have 3 grenades on the other one. then you have 3 on the next one. And you don't need to have that many frag grenades. It would be enough to have just 3 soldiers, so 9 frag grenades in total, but having so many frag grenades means that if the enemies are, for example, if you're an attacker and you want to capture a point, you can just shell the whole objective with grenades. And as long as you cook them well enough, everyone's gonna die. So this is highly effective. Or if you're desperate, if the enemies are already capping your objective and you're getting pushed behind, you can't get close, well, with some grenade throwing skills, you can nevertheless make sure that your objective gets cleaned out. Keep in mind, on higher BRs you can just use grenade launchers for that. But on low BR you can't. So this Grenadier strategy is perfect for low BR. On higher BRs you don't need it anymore, it's just weaker than other strategies. But for low BR this is absolutely perfect, very fun to play. And it doesn't even end with the normal grenades, because after you throw all of your first grenades, you want other grenades. Now you want other grenade types for 2 different reasons. A, you want some variety, so depending on the situation you have different grenades. And B, the first soldiers usually have enough time to actually look for enemies and search for them and aim. And since frag grenades need some cooking time, like 5 seconds, you have the time. So it makes sense to start every combat with these. But if the enemies get too close to you, or you're under too much pressure, you don't have time to cook them. And there's nothing worse than a not cooked frag grenade, because every enemy who's competent is going to throw them back to you. And this will usually last long enough that they explode in your vicinity and not in the enemy side. So after a while you want different grenades, and here you whip out the impact grenades. Now these used to be highly strong, because they had a similar explosive effect as the frag grenades. But that was too strong and people just started doing nothing but throwing impact grenades. Then these were nerfed hard. Now they are much weaker, much weaker than the frag grenades, but still effective enough, because if the enemies start pushing you hard and you get overwhelmed and you don't have time to react, they are perfect, because this means that enemies are usually clustered together in close groups, and then you can just quickly monkey throw your 3 impact grenades, and congratulations, now you deleted a whole squad with just 1 soldier. So this is really good. And this is the grenade wave. You start with the perfect grenades for beginning, so frag grenades. Then you progress into impact grenades. 6 are enough usually. And then what you want is, well, after everything is settled, you want a different type of grenades. Now here you can, as I said, you don't need that many frag grenades. Two of these riflemen you can just put in the end and give them other grenades. The other grenades would be either dead packs, like detonation packs, explosion packs for tanks, or you can also mix, though I noticed it's optimal if you have 3 times the same grenade, because then you don't have to think, then you can just throw quickly, which is much better than constantly having to switch different grenade types. Or you can play Molotovs or smoke grenades, though I noticed smoke grenades are just way too weak and enlisted, or phosphor grenades for the nations that have it. Now, phosphor grenades also highly nerfed. Molotovs indirectly nerfed because flames got nerfed hard. Now it takes forever to start burning. It takes 1.5 minutes and 1.5 seconds. Problem is, reason for that nerf was that when you stood next to some random candle on the map, you started burning. And that's why they made the delay of 1.5 seconds. Problem is, if you're standing in a sea of Molotov fire, you still can run over it for 1.5 seconds and not catch fire. So yeah, that's a problem with Molotovs. And phosphor has a similar problem. It takes forever until the enemies start catching fire, and the duration is also very limited. But still, phosphor grenades, similar to impact grenades, if you mass them, they actually work. If you mass them, and my recommendation is having 2 or 3 soldiers running around with them, because now if you want to make sure the enemies don't get on a point or an area, you will absolutely make sure that doesn't happen, because throwing this on an open area, throwing 3 of them, roughly 5 meters next to each other, will make sure you have a huge wave of phosphor where the enemies won't be able to run through. Another highly effective tactic for Grenadiers is, after getting downed, to release all of your grenades. This will give you, surprisingly often, huge amounts of kills, especially during chaotic battles while everyone is distracted. Make sure to release Molotovs and impact grenades the last, because they instantly kill you once you release them, but the other grenades are perfectly chainable with this type of tactic. Grenades actually are very skill intensive. If you want to be strong with them, it takes a lot, because grenades in Enlisted are highly nerfed, so they are not really that strong actually. You really have to get out of your way to make them really good. And B, aiming with them is quite challenging. And C, if you want to, for example, be strong with frag grenades, well, sometimes you get easy situations like throwing it into a full objective or throwing it into a bunker. But if you really want to become a high skill grenadier, you need to start anticipating situations where grenading becomes strong. For example, you're expecting enemies, but you're not sure where they are, or if you're in an open area and you have to approach the objective with your bolt action rifle, which by the way is perfectly complementary to grenades, because bolt actions are obviously perfect for long and mid-range. Then you want your grenades, which are perfect for mid-range too, and then a pistol for super short range. And yeah, so you basically cover all the distances with your weaponry. Anticipating enemies and especially starting to cook and not overcook or not undercook your grenades, that takes a while. And being able to throw grenades at all ranges is also quite challenging. So if you want to learn a cool new skill, learning Grenadiers is exactly what I recommend, because they're just insanely fun. And for the end, let's take a look at the perks. Or the equipment obviously is self-explanatory. The standard weapons, grenade pouch, 3 grenades, important X flask combo, so you're actually fast, and a mine, because you always want to have mines. If you already have the manpower of 9 soldiers in a squad, you also want 9 mines. I recommend to just have 2 anti-tank mines on the last 2 soldiers and the rest infantry mines. Regarding perks, it's quite simple. You want to use the abundance of perk points that Riflemen give you, and also have a nice synergistic build with our BR2 Rifleman Grenadier setup. And here's how you do it. First, you fill up the 6 mandatory slots with 2 green filler perks, which are also very efficient, very useful for their price. And then the bot improvement perk, making bots more precise. The fast weapon switch perk, which is good when you switch between your grenades and your rifle, and also in between the grenades. And then plus 25% grenade throwing, which is quite useful here. Unlike other classes, because only for 1 grenade this is absolutely a waste. But if you have multiple grenades, this can become good. Also, you don't need to max it out, because if it's plus 50%, it can be problematic with your intuitive aim. But because plus 25% is quite close to normal soldiers, but plus 50 is completely different. Though if you want to go full specialist, you can also of course do plus 50%. I rather have this, because these 2 perks are just way too comfy to have. And then the finds extra source, the additional plus 15 sprinting, so you get your synergy with the natural sprinting bonus of Rifleman 2. Then you have lightning fast soldiers, then of course vitality and additional stamina, so you can sprint for longer. And then plus 12% bolt action fire. This used to be bugged for years, literally for many years. This didn't work in Enlisted, which is absolutely stupid, but now it does work. I tested it myself, doing some measurements with multiple soldiers, and congratulations, it's amazing now. So since you're playing this on low BR anyway with your bolt actions, this is the best perk to have, especially if you're using a fast firing bolt action rifle. This makes your soldier very viable. Like the additional fire rate of nicely upgraded bolties together with plus 12%, make sure that you actually can shoot away whole groups of enemies and not get shot back if you have a little bit of cover. So you see, Rifleman, though being the most basic class in the game, is so customizable that you can turn it into one of the strongest classes in the game, and also very fun to use classes. And especially the Rifleman squad, which only superficially looks basic, though yeah, no other squad can do things like grenading as well as the Rifleman squad. And also of course on higher BRs, it becomes basically a better assaulter squad. Alright, that's it. Let me know what your experiences are using Grenadiers yourself or being on the receiving end. Overall, for those few people out there who always complain and whine, obviously not my viewers but most other people, claiming everything is overpowered and needs to be nerfed, here's the evaluation regarding whether Riflemen should be nerfed. First of all, they are literally the most, by definition, the most basic class. Secondly, every other class has something special. Engineers are the most important class in the game, the best class obviously, since they can build rallies and other things. And as you can see, they can even just become Grenadiers themselves. Assaulters are one of the strongest, actually the strongest fighting class in the game, and also the most easy to use class in the game. That's why all the sweat lords are running around with nothing but assaulters, because every brain-dead monkey can use them. Then you have machine gunners. Takes more skill, also very strong, but much easier to use than Riflemen. And the tank gunners are quite cool, radio men and so on. You see, all these classes have something special, and artillery strike is insanely strong. Killing enemy tanks also insanely strong. Riflemen can't do that easily. So Riflemen need something special. And being able to equip 3 grenades, which many other classes can do as well, well, that's definitely not overpowered. That's very fair. And the fact that the Rifleman squad has access to 9 soldiers due to the fact that it is the most basic squad and can't get many specialists is very fair. Also makes it fun because this is how you can not only just role play like human wave tactics and having masses of soldiers, especially if you role play Soviets, but you can also get close to very realistic real life builds. Because in real life, most squads consisted of 9 to 10 soldiers. The German standard squad size was 10 soldiers. So that's my contribution to stop the Rifleman slander and make sure that class is appreciated and played more often, because it absolutely deserves to be. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe and share this with your nerd friends so we get more people playing the real man's class. And until next time, goodbye.